Often, when hearing parents are told that their child is deaf, it can be a devastating thing to hear. How will their child communicate? What kinds of challenges are they going to face? Will they ever fit in? After a brief period of coping with the news, concerned parents move to the next step, which includes gathering information and making decisions that will affect the services their child will receive in the coming years. In this scenario, we will look at one such case and how the parents can become informed in an unbiased way so that they might make the best decision for their child. Meet the Peters family.
My name is Jenny Peters and my husband's name is Kirk. Our family is hearing and has no history of deafness. Our child Beau failed his newborn hearing screening bilaterally. Upon further testing, he was diagnosed as profoundly deaf and was referred for genetic testing. The results revealed connexin 26. We want Beau to maintain his identity in the deaf community, but we also want him to develop his auditory and speech skills. We are getting mixed messages from professionals as to which direction we should go.
Mrs. Peters?
Hi, you can call me Jenny.
Hi, I'm Beth Speaks, the
Hi.
speech language pathologist here at
Nice to
Speaks
meet you.
Child Services. Come on in.
Okay.
Have a seat. All right. So this is Belle. She's a local deaf educator.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
She'll be talking to you a little bit later about the school placement options.
Okay. I hope you don't mind. My husband had to go out of town, so I thought we could Skype him in this
Yeah,
meeting.
of course. That's
okay.
totally fine.
He really didn't want to miss.
No, we're glad. We always encourage lots of family participation, so I'm glad that you're both going to be able to be a part of this process.
Okay. Sure. Just give me a minute. Oh, hey, Kirk.
Hi.
This is Kirk.
Hi, Kirk. Welcome. All right. So let's go ahead and get started.
Okay.
All right. So I see that you have your genetic testing results back. Do you have any specific questions about that?
Yeah, I brought my questions with me.
Great. No, it's good.
Okay. First of all, I was very surprised to find out that it was a genetic disorder that caused
Right.
those.
Connexin 26.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Kirk and I mean, we want to have more children, but are they going to be guaranteed to have the hearing loss that Beau does?
Right. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about connexin 26.
Okay.
So connexin 26 is a recessive disorder. So basically, what happened was you and Kirk were both carriers for the mutation. So neither one of you obviously have exhibited hearing loss, but you were still carriers for it. So that obviously passed on down to Beau. This being said, if you do decide to have other children, there'll be a 25% chance for each child that they will also exhibit the hearing loss that Beau has.
I had no idea that I was a carrier.
Right, I know. Well, let's see here. I'm looking here at Beau's history and the information. I see he's already in TEIS's system and kind of has a little bit of a plan going. So that's
right.
really good. I'm glad to hear that. Do you have any specific concerns you'd like to discuss with us then?
Yeah, we met with the audiologist and Beau's been wearing hearing aids, but those really haven't been helping him in any way. And, Kirk, what was that video that we saw about, it was like a device that they put in their...
Cochlear implants.
Yes,
Cochlear
that was
implants.
it.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's receiving a lot of attention these days. So cochlear implants are a little bit different from hearing aids. It's a really major surgery that involves actually going into the skull. So it's definitely something that you'll have to talk about a lot. It's a really major undertaking. However, the fact that Beau is going to be 1 next week, happy birthday to little Beau, that's awesome. Well, the fact that he didn't receive much benefit from the hearing aids, sounds like is what you're saying, and he has a profound sensory neural hearing loss, that makes him a really good candidate for the cochlear implant, so that's great. I will say that the results of having the implant, they differ from child to child, so it's really important that you set realistic expectations for
Okay,
Beau.
so you're saying if you do go through with the surgery, it's not guaranteed to work?
Well, no. However, it does have real potential to give him a wide variety of sound that he might not otherwise have had. So, it's definitely something you'll have to give thought to. It has the potential to be a really cool thing.
So if we do go through with it though, how will this affect his speech? Will he be able to talk normally, or?
Well, again, it depends on the circumstances. Okay. But if it is something that is important to you guys, that developing speech is important, I would advise going ahead and getting both speech therapy and oral rehabilitation immediately. And so that's going to really give them the maximum opportunity to put those skills into practice and to really be exposed to them and learn intensively. So that would be a good idea.
Obviously that's how we communicate is through speaking, and I just don't know how else to communicate with Bo. I mean, what if the speech doesn't work for him?
Right. Well, there's a lot of other options in addition to speech. There's a lot of visual modes of communication, actually, and the biggest one being ASL, American Sign Language. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
I mean, I've heard of it,
Okay.
But
Well, basically, it's a language that uses the hands and the body and facial expressions to get the point across. So, it's not, there's kind of a misconception out there that it's basically just English on the hands, but that's not the case. It has its own set of rules, but it's a really cool thing, and if you expose him to this at a really early age, he can pick that up really easily. Just like
that sounds good, but I mean,
Right.
we don't know sign language.
Right. Well, that's okay. There's lots of local schools that offer beginner sign language courses that you and your husband could actually take simultaneously with Bo.
Okay.
So TSD, Tennessee School for the Deaf, Knoxville Center for the Deaf, and even places like UT and Pellissippi, they all offer programs in sign language that you and your husband can take, and that would be a really good opportunity for you to learn and reinforce at home with Bo.
Okay.
And then cute speech is also an option. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but basically there's 8 different hand gestures, and so you'll pair that with mouth movements, which will really help with phonemic awareness. And basically what that is recognizing that mouth movements and the letters all correspond to a specific sound. For instance, when I say buzz and ball, you know that I'm saying ball because of the way my mouth moves corresponding with the sound that goes with it. But when you use the hands, that really gives a visual representation of what's going on, so it'll reinforce it for Bo, so he can kind of see that those two go together.
Yeah, I mean, I really want to be able to communicate with him. I don't know whether to talk to him because I know he can't hear me.
Right. Well, you're doing a great job. I can already tell. Just it's important to just give him language and any sort of input, not necessarily one over the other, but just something to get him really exposed to that language as early as possible. So. All right. So I think Belle is going to talk to you a little bit about school plays and stuff.
Yeah. So have you thought about school for Bo at all?
Well, I guess I've always just assumed he would need to be homeschooled. I mean, he doesn't really fit in anywhere else, right?
Yeah, I understand like homeschooling, but there's some other options that I'm going to go over with you today that if maybe you didn't want to homeschool or you like one of these other options. So the first one would be a residential school, which is he'd be surrounded by American Sign Language, which is what Beth was talking to you about.
Right.
And so he'd be strong in that aspect of being able to communicate with sign language. He would be exposed to the values of the deaf culture. I don't know if you were wanting him to be in both cultures, but
We really were. I mean, obviously all our friends are hearing, but we still want him to have friends that are like he is.
yeah, for sure. So at a residential school, he would be surrounded by other children who are also deaf and have those kinds of peers to be able to interact with. The only thing about a residential school is he would be living away from home during the week, so he would only be coming home on the weekends. Yeah, I see that might be a little bit of a problem. So.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Yeah, but we actually have a residential school here in Knoxville called Tennessee School for the Deaf, which is also what Beth mentioned earlier. So it's right down the road. So
Yeah.
that's an option. There's day schools, which is kind of a compromise between a residential school and a mainstream public school. The good thing about a day school is he would stay at home with you during the night. So he would only go during the days, and then he would come home at night.
I like that.
And it's a lot like a residential school. It still has the teachers equipped with and the training equipped to teach deaf children. And they also have extracurricular activities, just like a residential school has, such as Boy Scouts, student government, study groups, and all kinds of different sports that they can participate in. So, and all the main disadvantage of the day school is that there's not much availability. They're only in certain areas. But lucky for you guys, Tennessee School for the Deaf also has a day school.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, so they also have that. Another option would be, of course, mainstreaming him into a public school. I don't know if you have a public school near you, but
We do, and that's where all my friends send their kids, and we had planned on sending Bo there, before we come out of his hearing loss.
yes. So he would be in a classroom the whole day with an interpreter. So the interpreter would sign to him everything the teacher was saying using American Sign Language. And he would be in with other hearing students, so he would get a lot more speech in the mainstream public school. Another option within the mainstreaming of a public school would be an itinerant teacher. So that would be a teacher that would come to his school a couple times a week and pull him out for a certain amount of time and work with him on speech therapy.
Okay.
So that's one of the options. And a last option would be a resource room, which would mean he would go into the main classroom for a lot of the day, but then for certain subjects they would pull him out and take him to a resource room and work with him. It would be for the subjects that he's maybe struggling in or not doing so well in, and they would work with him on those types of subjects. So he would, at these mainstream public schools, he would be able to interact with hearing peers, like I said, and kind of get a lot more speech at these kinds of schools.
Yeah. Would he still be able to do things with other deaf kids, or?
Yes, for sure. So Tennessee School for the Deaf offers activities for people that don't necessarily go to school there, or the families that don't go there. They still offer activities that you're more than welcome to attend. There's other organizations around Knoxville that have activities and events in the deaf community. So we also have a sheet for you today with all the organizations, and you can look them up and look at the different events that they host for the deaf community.
That would be great.
Yeah, we put our contact information on here as well as a list of all the information that we've covered today. So feel free to refer back to it. Give us a call if you have any other questions.
All right. Well, thank